Marcus got challenged by, I guess, some media outlet saying, hey, Flossman, congrats, you do have an awesome freeride bike.
Yeah.
You can obviously win the rampage and do big hugs and all that tricky stuff. But is it fast? Is it like, can you win a World Cup with this? Marcus got challenged. Like, okay, let's see.
There's a lot of pressure on your shoulders, I guess.
Kinda. Yeah, I agree on that.
Frank Dörr, welcome back to the Downtime Podcast. It's been a little while since the Jeffsy launch. How's life?
Actually, nothing to complain. I'm pretty happy what things are. Like, I effed up my knee a little bit on my last ski touring, so that ski season ends like quickly. And I do have a small delay in kicking off the bike season. So yeah, it's an old knee, obviously, but the rest there is awesome. I'm really happy that you do have me here.
Thank you.
And we're meeting to speak about an awesome new product that's exciting me. And there are many more super cool things to come in 24. So that will be an exciting season. Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Well, yeah, for people that maybe didn't listen to the episode where we talked about the Jeffsy, just remind people what it is you do at YT.
Oh, that's a good question again. No, just kidding. I'm the former head of R&D in YT. So I'm part of YT since 8 years now, nearly 8 years. I moved in the company, changed my position slightly, moving towards from like 100% R&D or taking at least the responsibility, moving towards product marketing and to have the opportunity, like things we do now, speak to people about the product, how awesome it is and why you should definitely buy it and how to have the most fun with it. That's my the change I did in YT.
Yeah. What's your actual job title? Like, do you have something on your card? What does it say?
Yeah, there's something on my card, to be honest. It's called Product Development Manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a loose word. So I'm still very strongly connected to the R&D, like setting up strategically all projects, talking about the future lineups, do a lot of product testing, do a lot of benchmarking, still the guy seeing the factories and manufacturers in Asia. Deeply involved. And everything that stands behind that product development manager.
You're a busy man. So we're here to talk about the new Tues, but the Tues is, it's been going quite a while, right? Give us a bit of history on that bike.
We can talk long about the history because the history actually is like, I was kind of surprised, like doing our own research, like it's 14 years old.
Really?
That basic idea of having a double crown forked bike. And going through the timeline it's mind blowing. The awards from important magazines we won, the high fives we won from customers with the bike over the years. Andreo won the Rampage with a super high score of 95 points whatsoever. Then a quick run through. At a certain point so that's the story of the bike. Marcus got challenged by, I guess, some media outlet saying, hey, Flossman, congrats, you do have an awesome freeride bike. You can obviously win the Rampage and do big hugs and all that tricky stuff. But is it fast? Is it like, can you win a World Cup with this? And Marcus got challenged. Like, okay, let's see. There was a new input, like, hey, how make it fast? How to make it fast? What do we have to do? So we invested a lot of thoughts, our own experience, worked with a lot of different feedback, and we finally make it like very fast. So we started over with the mob. We got Aaron Quinn on board. So he actually won first place. He won actually 2 overall Downhill World Cups in a row. I think it was 16 and 17.
Unreal.
Yeah, unreal. And then Vali won a lot. She won the juniors, I guess, twice. And winning a World Cup itself is like mind-blowing. There should be everything, like a lot of things should go right to win an overall World Cup.
For sure.
And if I am right, I guess, since 1993. Do you know how many different men won the overall World Cup?
I don't actually. Not that many.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I do have in my mind 13.
Okay. Yeah.
And like having one of them, like Aaron Quinn, he won it multiple times.
Yeah.
But having him winning 2 times in a row on a new product.
Yeah.
I mean, that's more than proof of concept, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
I guess Marcus was pretty happy. He won the bet with whoever the journalist was, right? He proved it was fast.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they got back in discussion again after that. There was Tues MK3. And now we talk about Tues MK4 already.
Yeah.
14 years later.
Amazing.
And happy to say, Vali.
Yeah.
Back in the team, we all are super stoked about that. And first place again. I mean, all the mob athletes did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Like O'Sheen, Sean. But sure, Vali took it. Like, to be honest, I was super nervous about that. Like,
it's big pressure, right? Especially with Vali, because kind of she's almost expected to win. And you've brought her back onto the team. Okay, she knows the bike, she knows some of the people.
Yeah.
But you've still got to get up to speed on it. And it's this new bike. You were launching it at Fort William on the Thursday. Yeah. There's a lot of pressure on your shoulders, I guess.
Kinda. Yeah, I agree on that. I mean, in the company, I messaged Marcus. He did a post like, "Hey, super stoked," and I messaged him like, "Man, I was kind of nervous." Like,
yeah, because that was tight. The race run did not look like it was quite going Vali's way, did it? It was really tight with Nina's times.
Yeah, I think in general it was a super tough race for everyone.
Yeah.
Like the conditions changed. And Fort Williams is always is a tough track. Having that as the kick off of a season is like, oh Jesus, that's a tough one. But the margin was like, I mean, for us it was okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, went your way.
Yeah. There's this talking about the nervousness. It's there. It's like,
it's real.
Yeah, you better be good.
So when did you start thinking about making a new Tues then? Like how long ago did Mark IV work start?
Oh man. I think we officially kicked it off at the end of 2020.
Okay.
Already.
Yeah.
Which was, you can remember, like we all try to forget, but it was like Corona shit going on. And it was a tough one because we all stuck to home office, but that was actually where we kicked it off officially. Yeah.
So where do you start? Do you go out and buy all the current sort of downhill bikes that people perceive to be good and do some benchmarking? Are you critiquing the Mark III and looking at what you want to improve? Are you looking at market trends? I mean, I guess to some extent there's all of that, but talk us through some of the pre-work or the early phase work that you do to look at, I guess, sort of trying to specify what you want to achieve with the new version.
Yeah, you're right. It's like, first of all, it's not like you're putting a bike aside and then when you do have the feeling or numbers are telling you or whomever saying, or Marcus coming, we need a new bike, then you start to investigate what's needed. So R&D, at least for us, is a never-ending process.
Okay.
So we all are more or less avid riders in the R&D department. So we do our own testing, just like go out and ride bikes. And specifically the lead engineer for the two, or let's say the Tues specifically for some of our R&D members is like a project by heart.
Okay.
And they are like downhill riders by heart.
Yeah.
And the lead engineer specifically doing all the kinematics and this is, I would say, most favorite bike. And so it's the feedback we collect on ourselves, but like you mentioned already, it's different levels of feedback. So you're collecting constantly feedback, and you write it down, you put it down, you do some notes. We do have like our R&D test riders. Mm-hmm. Most important one, Erik Ermisch. He's called the German Steve P, by the way. He's a funny guy, and he's riding the Tues a lot. And the list of things you want to improve actually opens up after the thing is like ready. So that's kind of the unofficial kickoff for the next one.
Yeah.
But there's a certain phase where you say, okay, let's gather together. We have to do or specify the requirements for the next tours. For sure, that's the question. What do we want to achieve?
Yeah.
How do we want to achieve it? And sometimes it's opening up a new segment for the scepter is a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
Because it's not a question about the product itself. It's a question about the segment. But for the tours, it's relatively simple because it's like I said, 14 years old. So over the time, we have to tweak it here. You do research. Is there any trend coming in?
Yeah.
Do we have new athletes? Is the sport itself changing? Is it evolving? Do bike parks change? Is there different influence, like the riding style changes? Is there old school, new school? So there are a million aspects you do frequently consider. You run through like all the questions all the time, and questions are changing, so answers might change. But yeah, actually that's the process.
Yeah. Complex, right?
Funny.
Yeah.
Challenging.
I guess one of the trends that we've seen in downhill a lot recently is that, a lot of teams moving to a high pivot or some kind of higher pivot, mid pivot approach, which you've not gone with the Mark IV. Do you try those things? Like, how do you approach making decisions around those bigger, because you can either go one way or the other, really. There's no kind of halfway house, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, it's the same discussion, or the things we see happening with is the Mullet question, is the 29er real question. For sure, we do investigate and doing our homework with that. And at a certain point, okay, we sit together, we look each other in our eyes and say, hey, what should we do? And then you go through pro and cons. And specifically for the high pivot topic, I would not say never say never, but for the tours, it was clear that's not the right feel we want to have on the tours.
Okay.
Based on the history, based on the success, based on the smiles on people's faces, it's we're not so far from having an awesome product.
Yeah.
Why do change it? And what are the drawbacks by having a high pivot bike in place? Because it's a specific ride feel.
Yeah.
You get by doing it. And
how would you describe that ride feel and how it differs to the Tues?
Imbalanced.
Okay.
Super supple. Yeah. And, I mean, it's soaking up everything, but it's mind blowing supple. But on the other hand, it's it's killing a little bit the liveliness.
Yeah.
And the fun in the thing. And it feels imbalanced because the wheelbase changing frequently. So
as you compress the bike, the wheelbase is growing, right, with the rearwards axle path. Yeah.
And I mean, you've ridden the tours that's I would say is a very balanced ride feel.
Yeah.
So it's very predictable. And once you figured out the body position on the bike, you can click that chat box. I figured out the balance of the bike, and you can focus on having fun.
Yeah, fair.
And sometimes you need that liveliness, to accelerate the bike and pop off some things. And that was more or less the short version of the discussion we had.
Yeah, okay.
And the investigation we did and the research.
Yeah, fair. And I mean, it's a carbon product, and carbon tooling is not only expensive, but it takes a long time to produce, and there's a lead time associated with that.
Yeah.
I'm guessing the design for this bike was frozen maybe a year ago. More? Yeah. How? Because obviously you're putting that line in the sand. Let's say it's 18 months before you know the launch is going to happen. Is that always a nervous wait to see if anyone has worked something out that changes the game in that time period? Or?
I would say basically that's a tough challenge.
Yeah.
The way we work, so you're asking more or less for the recipe of our secret sauce. Okay, I'm gonna share that, at least partly. The way we work is in the R&D department, specifically in the design department. We agreed, or we defined longer time ago together with Marcus as a driving force as one step after another. So we defined a certain design language.
Okay.
And that's interesting for designers to creating a look and feel of a product.
So we're talking more industrial design here, like the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's the reason you buy a bike, or most people buy a bike, is the aesthetics. And from a brand perspective, to have a design language in place is important to us to make recognizable products. As part of our design strategy. So the idea is like, you do not have to put screaming logos on the bike that people can identify the product as yours. That is a bike from YT. By following that design language, a product is easy to identify by the silhouette, but how slack it looks, how fast it looks, what durability it shows based on the design. Like, we do have the head box is a specific way to define the shape of our head tube, to have a cable integration to generate a certain amount of stiffness, to have a placement surface for the logo. And there are many more things being part of the design language, like having lines going, how the light reflects. And there's 1,000 points. If you have that in place and you keep it true to your design language, it's relatively predictable how the product will turn out. And it's not like we do it like this year, we do it like this way, and 4 years later there's a different team or external agency and they try to do it completely different. And that's how we work in terms of like aesthetics. And try to ensure that that project we kick off now will be cool in 4 years in terms of aesthetics.
What about in terms of sort of functionality and features?
I mean, if we talk about the Tues in terms of features, that topic, like people are not sure about the rear wheel size. That's a topic for sure. And then there was a trend like having adjustability in the bike. That was part of the bucket list. And but again, based on the history with the product, we are partly convinced what it takes to ride that history even further. Like having people like generating smiles and creating nice experience on the products and good memories. And that was like relatively easy. Based on the history we have.
Cool. What about trying to get a bike that works for everyone? Because you've got you know the top racers in the world, Oshin, Shan, Vali on the product. You've also got mugs like me trying to ride on it.
And me? Like,
well,
I do include myself there.
Normal people. The forces and the accelerations and the loads that we're putting into the bike will be very different from those top riders.
100%.
What work do you do to try and enable the bike to work as much as possible across that broad spectrum?
As YT Industries, as a brand, we see it as our duty to create products where people have fun on it. First of all, for sure, we try to sell them successfully. But the main purpose is to generate fun products. We want to see people smile. Like we want to share the stoke. And seeing people sharing high fives, that's the main purpose. Everything at an affordable price or a nice price, quality, value. Level number one. Level number two is for sure we do have the athletes. So in terms of product testing, and even if you're not an athlete, there are some super fast and strong riders like killing products out there. And we try to make it safe. Not only for athletes, but for the athletes specifically, because you said the forces impacts are way higher, more radical. That's part of the bucket list. Make it safe, make it a reliable, durable product, but not forget to implement the fun into the product. And to make affordable, fun products. In terms of racing, obviously, we do have the secret recipe. Like, people can win with stock bikes. If we figure out they do need, I don't know, a different link or a different rear triangle, or a longer rear triangle, for example. That's what Oshin is doing. He's riding a large size frame with an extra large rear triangle. So they do have access to the stock parts. You can swap them very easily, or like a CNC part is relatively easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not our purpose to develop a race-only bike for World Cup riders and then try to sell it to average people. Or like average people like me, average riders. Like, in my opinion, it doesn't work. That's not the best fun product, and it could be intimidating for people. Like, oh shit, yeah, that's a race product. Can I handle that? Can I work with it?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't feel good unless it's going at World Cup pace kind of thing.
I would say that's the opposite way you should go, or we do go.
Yeah, interesting. And like you say, there were a few little tweaks from the team to get each rider comfortable. So Oisin's got this longer rear end, and Vali was running an idler, I think, mounted on the chainstay mounts. Talk us through that.
Oh, there's not so much to talk about. I don't want to talk about too much. So the thing is, we do develop the products, like I said, and obviously athletes can win with stock products. They are testing different stuff all the time. So we figured out there's a photo going around where Vali rides an idler, or we call it Smidler. Smart idler. So it's the small bits and pieces, like Oisin is riding O-chain. They try, and that's their job. They try to tweak the product, and we're talking about, let's say, the last 5%.
Yeah, of course.
And for sure, like, is they take care of their nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
They take care of their shoes, and they try to tweak the last 5% out of the product and testing different stuff. And sometimes they're testing it and it didn't work out or didn't make them faster, then it's gonna disappear again.
Yeah.
And that's the story. Like, it's testing different products, different opportunities. Sometimes nice gadgets might end up in mass production. Sometimes they disappear forever.
Yeah. I think I always find it interesting that people seem to want to ride the same bikes the World Cup riders have, yet 99.9% of people probably wouldn't enjoy that or get much out of it.
If you talk about suspension setup, I mean, you know how pro athletes suspension feels like. It's we wouldn't have fun on that bike.
That would be a horrible day out.
Yeah, I mean, it's just 10 seconds, then arm pump kicks in, and then we need to do brake.
Yeah. I mean, we rode with Oisin yesterday, which was a cool experience, but watching him ride with another rider who's local to here, really quick, good journalist, quick rider, and Oisin was still kind of at the bottom of the track for about a minute before anyone else came out, and it's just
still cruising.
The level, and the level is just. I don't think people necessarily, until you see it in the flesh, realize quite how much faster this lot are.
And even then, if you see it, you cannot relate. It's even more impressive if you take the same product.
Yeah.
You get like special treatment. Someone is setting up everything perfectly for you, so you're sharing the same trail. So you would expect, he might be faster, but he will disappear in the first 2 seconds, and you never see him again.
Yeah,
that's even more like frustrating. Like, if you think you're riding quite a lot, and the gap is like mind blowing big.
Yeah, even when you think like I was on the edge there, there's no way I could do that any faster.
Yeah,
and then someone like Oisin goes through it in like 2 seconds quicker in a 4-second segment or something, and you're just like,
only one hand on the handlebars, chilling. Yeah. Oh yeah, frustrating.
Unreal.
It's really unreal. Yeah, I tried to follow Vali when we rode together in January. Like, it's not nearly tried to follow. She disappeared.
Yeah, it's the next level. Yeah, for sure. You mentioned earlier the aesthetic of the bike obviously is very important, and your industrial design has a very clear language. Sometimes, like, the engineering elements of a product almost compete with or up against this aesthetic
Most
requirement. Well, how do you manage that? Because you ultimately, the form and function needs to be there. You've got something you want to achieve, but also it needs to look like a YT. How do you nurture that relationship to get everyone onto where you need to be?
I'm super happy about to say, like, the R&D team, designers and engineers, we know each other for a couple of years already. I would say everyone is like minimum 7 up to 10 years at YT. So we're sharing the same room for quite a while. So everyone knows each other. So you can see like it's easy to interpret body language. So that helps in general to solve issues. But I agree, like don't want to be too offensive to anyone, but if it would be only an engineering bike, it would look completely different.
Yeah.
And if it would only be a bike made by a designer or industrial designer, not sure about the right feel.
Yeah.
So we call it ping pong actually. So they both start independently more or less. So we set up the requirement sheet, like travel, all the kinematics, geometry from engineering side. And then the designers, they do have an idea in their head. If it's like for the Tues MK4, it's easy. You see the old one. And for us, it's the old one.
Yeah.
For most of the people, it's the current one. And maybe they bought it like 2 weeks ago and they're still stoked. But for us, the project is already a couple of years old.
Yeah, okay.
So we do have most of the bikes in display, and if you having a look on a bike frequently, you see it's getting older day by day. And then they start to scribble like you would imagine, like industry designers do.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you bring that ideas together, and that's the point where the ping pong starts by saying, "Hey, is that possible?"
Yeah.
We like that industrial design approach, but does it fit the kinematics? Will the pivot points be in your scribble, or will the pivot point here in the seat stays here?
Yeah.
So, that's too traumatic, because the industrial designers, they do have a good approach, like how the engineers work, and vice versa. So it's not too far off.
Yeah.
And it's relatively easy to come to a conclusion. But I would say, if you're asking what's the philosophy behind that, I would say form follows function if we talk about the right feel.
Yeah.
If we talk about the shape of the head box, which has only some influence on right feel in terms of stiffness or in terms of handling, of cable routing, there's a little bit more, or let's say the engineers are open to discuss it.
Okay, so it's potentially more towards the function follows form in those areas.
Yeah. Or like dimension of the cross section of a tube, the shape of it.
Yeah.
That's design driven. If we do have the engineering part, like if we are aware of that, if it doesn't influence the flex too much or whatsoever, they can take over. But if it comes to right feel, that's I would say the philosophy form follows function. Yeah.
Okay. And brands seem to be starting to understand more and more how to tune stiffness and compliance of a bike. Has that changed from the Mark III to the Mark IV? Have you worked more on that as you understand more about the benefits and also the tools, I guess, to predict and to work on carbon layups and stuff?
I think, to be honest, and that's what the feedback you get from other guests in the podcast, to deal with stiffness or compliancy for aluminum bike and having tools in place to do FEM analysis to see where stress points are, the flexes and whatsoever, there's a bigger challenge in carbon. I feel very lucky to have long-term partners to produce carbon fiber frames. They do have a certain experience because they do not produce for us exclusively, and they're in the business for a very long time, and they only do carbon. Right. So they do have a great expertise, and we can discuss what we want to achieve.
Yeah.
And we learned from the MK3 that it might have been a little bit too stiff for some people. So we set up the project with the goal to have more flex in the frame to increase compliancy and confidence in the end.
Yeah.
Because if you do have more grip, and that's what compliancy is. Like compliance is a very a big word. No one knows exactly what's behind that, but we're talking about grip. And the Tues MK4 has a bit more compliancy to offer. Yeah. And it feels like it's easier to ride.
And is that compliance targeted to certain elements of the frame? Do you find you're better off having certain elements stiff and certain elements
stiffness
more flexible?
Rear triangle. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Stiff, like so.
Less stiff.
Less stiff in the rear triangle, but the main triangle.
Yeah, it's more or less the same.
Yeah.
I mean, the compliancy comes a little bit out of the front triangle and the connection to the rear triangle, because parts are, you have pivot points and connecting parts to each other. But the main goal was having more compliance in rear triangle, PP area rear triangle, to generate more grip.
Yeah, and that just helps the bike track the ground better. And
yeah, exactly, and have a smoother ride. Yeah.
Interesting. What other changes have you made then? I mean, mullet compatibility is a big thing, I guess.
Yeah. You're asking specifically like how to generate compliancy, or?
No, sorry, like on the bike. So you've changed the stiffness. What other changes have you made going from Mark 3 to Mark 4? Yeah.
The discussion about rear wheel size is still ongoing. Like, should I go 29 or straight? That's my body size. How do I want to have the ride feels like? Should I go for a smaller rear wheel? So the wheel discussion is a big topic. We tried to have a simple solution in the frame, in the bike itself.
Yeah.
So the Tues MK4 comes with, we call it a flip link, is an integrated tool in the bike. Mm-hmm. It's not actually a tool. The link is easy to flip from one side to the other.
Yeah.
You just need a handful of different Allen keys to open the system, flip it, and you can convert it to your preferred wheel size. The bike is coming in small and medium with the Mullet wheel size setup, and large, extra large, double extra large as a 29er.
Okay, because you feel that's the best fit for like rider height.
Based on body height.
Yeah.
Because I would say most of the people, they do struggle with smaller frame sizes with the bump clearance. Mm-hmm. That's a big topic.
Yeah.
And that's, we made a decision like having the smaller rear wheel in place. Mm-hmm. But if you say, hi, I'm a small size, frame size rider, but I only go for 29 straight, it's easy to do.
Yeah.
Flip the link, get a new rear wheel, or get the rear wheel from your Capra.
Yeah. Because
the rear hub standard is not super boost, it's 148.
Is that a stiffness based decision, or is it like to help people that have got wheels in the garage and they can swap them? Why stick with normal boost?
I would say the main purpose is like, we don't necessarily see the need to have super boost standard in place. Mm-hmm. We do have UDH now on the bike as a cool feature. Yeah. That's super cool. And to make it easy for people to swap a rear wheel. I mean, we could have stick to the super boost, and then we can say, you can easily swap your rear wheel, but who the fuck has different
spare super boost wheels?
Yeah, why would you have that? And so you would have to buy a new rear wheel just to figure out, is that your configuration or not? And if you say, nah, not my cup of tea, and then what? You ship the rear wheel back? That's not a super convenient way to just test things out.
Yeah.
And you can go more narrow with the rear triangle, changing the hub standard, so we have more heel clearance. So it's adding up with a lot of benefits when we made the decision. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and you've got the adjustable chainstay length. Is that more to accommodate people shifting between wheel sizes, or is it something you think people will actually kind of use when they're within the same wheel size?
I hope so.
Okay.
I mean, it's another easy tool to test different chainstay length and to get the experience.
Yeah, we did it yesterday, and it took George about 2 minutes to switch it around.
Yeah. It's just like we try to have everything in place, that there's only some Allen keys needed to change that or make adjustments.
Yeah.
And you can have or you can fine tune the ride feel. Do you want to have it more playful? Go with the shorter chainstay length. Are you seeking for having a more balanced or more stable bike? If it's going really fast, go for the longer one. So you do have options to fine tune your bike to your personal preference or to test it. That's nothing you can normally do.
Yeah, it's good to have for sure. Have you done much with the kinematic differently?
To be honest, no.
Okay. If it ain't broke.
Yeah. To be honest, it's not like we started over from scratch. In terms of kinematics, we tweaked the overall progression. We took out a little bit.
Okay.
To make it even more smooth.
Yeah.
But we try more or less to keep the rest in terms of how you can keep the rest. Like everything is influencing the others.
Yeah.
But not a dramatic change, I would say.
Okay. Just refinements.
Yeah. It's fine tuning.
Yeah. What about the geometry? How does that compare to the outgoing bike?
That's a general change, because maybe Tues MK4 came in 29er only, 3 different frame sizes.
Yeah.
So I would say that the basic change we did is like adding 2 more frame sizes to the geometry chart.
Yeah.
So we have been aware, that's the feedback we got. There are some smaller size people seeking for the Tues. So now we went back to our philosophy. Right, ascended geometry, that's the claim.
Yeah.
Offering bikes for a wider range of people.
Yeah.
To 5 frame sizes. And we gave it a little bit more reach.
Yeah.
If we want to crunch numbers, front triangle got longer, so got a rear triangle to balance the bike out.
Okay.
And for example, that's the feedback we got from the athletes as well. Like everyone is asking for a longer rear triangle.
Yeah.
But even there, we didn't go too far, too extreme. I think as a nice geometry where you can hop on a bike and feel like being home, it's super easy to get familiar with the bike.
Yeah, it's an easy bike to ride.
Not too extreme. Yeah.
I think that's a YT trait. Every YT I've got on is like, there's no puzzle. You just get on and ride it, and it's like pretty obvious how it works.
Yeah, because normally, it's like you and me, we're doing it. Like there are some people, they love to spend time in the workshop and try to be test riders. But most of us, we love to set up the bike once, and then we just like want to disappear in the woods and come back with a smile in our face. And that's the basic approach we do have.
Yeah, that's quite a commitment as a brand though. 5 sizes. I mean, downhill volumes are not large, and tooling's expensive.
Yeah, and it doesn't help to like keep the timeline short. Like
yeah, true.
Deal with the budget. Yeah, it's a lot of investment, but I think in the end it shows our commitment to the sports, our commitment to riding a double crown forked bike.
Yeah.
Again, it's not like we don't want to produce 5 or 10 prototypes for pro athletes, and as an customer you can buy a different bike.
Yeah.
That's not how we roll. Yeah.
Nice. And I guess like the latter stages of the project, the stuff you've been going through more recently is like testing and durability of the bike once you've got them out of the molds and you're kind of there. What sort of stuff are you doing, both like on bike and in the test facilities in the labs? Yeah,
what we figured out is you can machine test everything until like last day of human life, but riding a bike sometimes shows different results. Like you passed all the machine tests. So in general, we do have a machine test, lab test at the manufacturer.
Yeah,
and we do add an independent test, or we're working with 2 different independent German-based test labs to get the product tested. We don't want to do it on our own because it's better to have an independent test result.
Yeah.
And even then, like we have green lights, we ride the bike, and sometimes you see like, no one did expect this to happen. We do have a problem here.
Yeah.
So you're going back to work with the production. You go to improve layup or sometimes shape or whatsoever to get rid of that. And then you repeat a test lab. And we're setting up our own test lab standards based on the experience, like have a safe product for the pro athletes, because you don't want to have like a snap frame in the World Cup. Not because of the brand reputation, because like people getting hurt.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. That's something we try to avoid. Specifically, like there's a badass machine. You can go fast. You can like doing the rampage on a bike, like, oh man, that's just a lot of stressful product. Yeah, the machine or the lab-based testing's super useful for getting lots of cycles, but I guess the load cases are relatively limited to being in a certain direction or whatever on the frame, whereas the things athletes can do with bikes or even normal people, like... Yeah, I mean, it's not like always like pro athletes putting the most stress on a product depends if you messing up. We go out in the woods, like try to do the road gap over there, and we're gonna mess it up, like maybe the forces are way worse than when Ocean is doing a smooth run in Fort William.
Yeah. So do you have people like that work for you that are just out putting laps on laps on laps on these things?
Erik Emich, for example.
Okay.
He tried to nail down a thousand downhill runs on the Tues before it got launched.
1,000?
Yeah, so we got the first riding samples. We went out for San Remo, I guess it was February last year.
Yeah.
When we got the first batch of riding samples.
Yeah. When you say riding samples, that's like off production tooling, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's after the machine test.
Yeah.
So we put the product to real life testing then.
Okay.
And he's a really important rider because that's his thing. Like riding Tues like all day long, and he can do laps all day long. He doesn't need a break.
Unreal.
Yeah, and on a very high level.
Yeah.
And he missed 1,000. Yeah, he did instrument pose. Says, sorry, I only did 868 runs. So, I mean, meanwhile, I guess he got 1,000. We do have dedicated R&D test riders.
Yeah, and was at the World Cup, right?
Yeah,
so he's riding these tracks alongside those riders as well, bringing you feedback.
On World Cup level.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always he's very good in creating feedback.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, if you are a fast rider, one of the best riders, it does not necessarily mean that you can create worthy feedback.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just mean you are fast as fuck.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. They had the same in Formula One, right? Michael Schumacher was renowned for being really good at like debriefing what he'd felt out on the track to the engineers.
Yeah.
Other drivers are just like, oh, it feels good or it feels bad.
I don't know. I don't know. I did.
Yeah.
I won. Yeah, and we can call him now by saying, hey, what's the best? How much PSI should I run on the fork?
Yeah.
On the 40 with 3 tokens. Should I add one more? And then we can easily get an answer from him.
Yeah. So does he help inform the setup guides that you provide to people buying the bike?
Yeah, he's the driving force, actually.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So it's not just that you've consulted let's say the Fox manual, for example, and like put those on your website. You work with Erik and like...
Yeah, we try to stick away from fork setups to publish them.
Okay.
Because the fork is nothing we do influence.
Yeah.
Or just slightly with the body position. But when it comes down to shock tune and the setup guide for the shock.
Yeah, because it overlaps with the kinematic and the valving and everything.
And maybe that's not known. So when you buy a bike from us, the shock got its specific tune according to that kinematics. That what we do up front.
Yeah.
Like offering the best possibility, the best product you can buy. It's kind of custom made shock for that specific bike.
Yeah.
And that's where he is the driving force as well.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool, man. What were the biggest challenges then with this one? Like, as we've been talked about, it's kind of an iteration. It's not a brand new platform, totally different. Does that give you a head start, or does that almost make it harder to like work out how you're going to improve certain things without changing the overall look and feel?
Yeah, it does help.
Yeah.
It does help, but it's always like a challenge in terms of how to implement cool stuff that it still looks cool and it's easy to use. Not only for customers, as I think I told you, or we spoke about that in the GFC. We are a direct selling company. So if you're purchasing a product from us and you need a service or whatsoever, repair whatsoever, you're going to ship the bike to us. And it's our duty to make sure that the bike will not sit for 8 weeks or 2 months or 3 months in our workshop. So we try to design products that it's not only easy for you to maintain, it's easy for us to do a service. So it ensures that you're going to get your bike back faster. Yeah. And that's always a challenge, specifically if you try to implement like adjustability. There's a lot of additional parts. No one likes creaking noises on the bike.
I was going to say it's an obvious place for things to creep in and start creaking. And
the challenge is how to do a flip link.
Yeah.
We don't want to offer separate parts you can purchase or coming with the bike, like 2 different links coming with the bike.
Yeah.
there's a struggle. There would be struggle for me. Like I want to go out like, I forgot the additional part. Or I would lose it or something like that.
Yeah.
That was a challenge, I would say. The rest was like, we know what to do, more or less.
Cool. Are there elements of this one that you're particularly proud of?
I'm always proud, like how the team works together. And I got your point, and as there was a good question: how is that ping pong going on, or how is the team working together?
Yeah.
And I would say no. I'm not specifically proud on that project.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always proud on how the team works and how the product ends up, because that could be more tricky.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're working like the design office is sitting in, I don't know, Paris, and the engineers are sitting in Cologne. Oh man, that's a challenge.
Yeah.
So as a easy to work with team, we do have a basic understanding, and it's always like we have like some arguments, like some really interesting discussions, but in the end it's super harmonic. And
that's the sign of a good team. If you can't disagree with each other and work through it, then you're not going to end up with the best final product, right?
It's all about the people, to be honest. Like if you want to inspire people buying the product, having fun on the product, that's something we should embrace on ourselves. Like we should share the stoke we do have and not fighting for it. Yeah, that's I would say, that's something I'm super proud of. Yeah.
Nice. That's cool, man. Let's talk a little bit about the specs, because I know you guys like price. You mentioned earlier, having a good bike at an affordable price is an important part of where YT comes from. It's kind of why Marcus started the whole thing. How have you gone about choosing the specs for the bike? We rode the Fox equipped one yesterday, which it's a pretty high end spec for the price.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything. Like I said, I'm not a massive fan of those brakes personally, but they're fine. There's literally nothing I'd really want to change.
Yeah, that's the philosophy. I mean, we're testing a lot, and that's the pick we always do. There's no bullshit bingo. There's no secret like, it looks like, but it isn't, and it looks orange, but it isn't. So it is a real spec. It's the spec decisions we made based on what we would run on our own bikes.
Mm-hmm.
Brakes is always a topic.
Yeah, everyone's got their own favorites, right? Yeah,
but I think we're not too far from like having nice brakes.
Yeah,
the
they're super
EPs
good.
Are doing a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And the lower spec is a DB8, which is a fantastic brake.
Yeah.
At a really interesting price point.
Yeah, I've not ridden those yet, but I've heard good things about them.
Yeah, you should give it a try.
Yeah.
And it's how we choose spec is like, for sure, you put in regards, okay, what is interesting for customers. We don't go too exotic. We know what products are good.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a discussion like, easy to talk with them. He like, hey, give me nice suspension for the Tues, and he can run you through everything, like pro and cons, and you might end up at Fox and RockShox, and even like the lower price point, like with having the new a Boxer in play is like, I mean, it's hard to complain about that. For the bikes, we for the two versions we do offer, we go for aluminum wheels.
Yeah.
Based on compliancy, as well.
Yeah,
and the rest is like as a great spec, not extraordinary.
Yeah. And you do these uncaged models sometimes for like the bikes in the range where you have like a different spec or a different choice, maybe a little more off-piste choice.
Yeah,
will we see that?
Bike we would if we would like found a bag of money and we'd have the opportunity like, hey Chris, let's build our dream bike. That's the uncaged philosophy.
Okay. Will we see that coming in Tues MK4 at some point?
Man, I don't know. I don't know. Not this year.
Okay.
But you can bet there's people working on that.
Of course, yeah.
It's too attracting, It's
It's cool, and it's nice to have those like limited run.
Oh yeah,
like,
you
new
can
colors
do
and
it's fun projects for us as well. Yeah.
Very cool, man. And you're still going to be selling the old Tues, I think.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the theory behind that.
We keep the aluminum Tues Alive 27.
Yeah.
Because that's we said that's a race bike. But we are aware not everyone is a racer or is identifying him as a racer. and it's different worlds living in double crown forked bikes. So to not push people away, like, hey, you stick to us, we do have something in the pipeline for you.
Yeah.
What the future brings, I don't know. Keep your eyes peeled.
Interesting. Okay, man. And we talked a little bit about the team at the start, but the team is a lot bigger this year, kind of a lot higher profile. I think, you've got truck coming very soon. The pits is going to be getting bigger and bigger.
Hope so.
Does that bring an added pressure? Like, was that plan in place when you were designing this bike? Did you know that by the time the Mark IV came out, like the platform that it was going to be thrust into the world on would be this big?
Actually, no.
Okay.
No, when I said we kicked it off in 2020, and no one, or at least not from our side, thought about like having a full-blown team again that we all wished for.
Yeah.
And it's something you do have in your mind. Like, it's just like, I mean, that's next level shit. Like, if you're in a situation, like, you can create a product not only you do love, but having a race team sitting on it and winning on it, that's mind-blowing. And that's something you all hope for. You hope for all the time. And sometimes dream comes true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you first get to see the athletes in person riding the new bike? Because that must be a big thing to see whether they like it or not the first time they swing a leg and you're there.
I met them in January this year.
Yeah.
In San Clemente.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they got a product earlier, and I was like, that's the point when you start sending out like text messages to the team, like, you know what? Yeah, they're stoked about the product. Yeah,
that must feel really good, because it's such an unknown, I guess. Because I guess you've got Eric riding at somewhere near that pace.
Yeah, and he's super honest with his opinions. So he doesn't give a shit about if the product sucks. And we had it a couple of times already, like, and that's why I do appreciate. I need honest feedback, and I need it right away. And but for sure, it's like, you're super nervous, like, bring Top Guns on the product, and they gonna say, no, product sucks.
It's a big deal, isn't it?
Go home.
Yeah,
tweak it. Oh yeah, that's a worst nightmare.
Yeah.
So was super stoked to see, like, they all had a good time.
Great.
And so rumors are they did photo shoot or video shoot on the MK3. They rode MK4 before, and they said, can we do it on the MK4?
Well, that's good for you.
Yeah, nothing you can do. In the end, it's their job. It's fine, but it's great to hear that.
Yeah, and Vali got on the bike even before that, right? I think she had some opportunity quite early in the development maybe not early in the whole project, but like...
No, I mean, at a certain point when you giving out a product for testing, we are internals. We know what to do, what to expect. We are aware if there's a critical point, and we do review the bike every day. Yeah. So if we give the product out to someone, we have to make sure everything's in place, everything's right, everything's safe. So it's always later than we do have the bike. Yeah, but she was on the bike earlier on, but I don't have insights because it was secret.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Proper lockdown on that one.
Yeah, kind of. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but it's something you gotta do. Like, if you would be a pro athlete, like, and someone is asking, like, well, I don't know how it worked. If she asks us or we ask, I don't know. Yeah. But at a certain point, you would ask for product. Like,
100%. If you're making a big decision like that,
part of your decision,
because that's your career and your value, right? If you suddenly are on a bike that sucks, and you're not winning anymore, and your value just plummets, right? You quickly get forgotten about in this sport.
You better avoid that.
Yeah.
But so far, as the story goes, she knew the old bike.
Yeah.
And it felt more or less like, I feel kind of comfortable on the bike again. Yeah.
Bit of a fairy tale so far then, really.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Don't say it too loud. It's a very nice situation.
Yeah. Who gets to keep that bike that Vali won on at Fort William? So I think Aaron's race winning bike is out at Martin Whiteley's place in Spain.
Yeah. I think it might end up in our office somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be cool, eh?
Yeah, there are different bikes standing around, and it's always like Taxi's custom paint shop, the Capra, standing around, and it's nice to come to the office, and it's very inspiring to see products and the jerseys on the wall, and it's easy to forget about that stoke if you stick to the office and do your daily routine and try chasing down timelines and goals. It's like, it's always great to have inspiring products around.
It must be a big boost for the team, right? I'm sure everyone's worked their asses off to get this bike where it is. So for it to go out and win at the first point of asking must help everyone just be like,
and seeing the footage, and normally we're gonna share the coverage in the media with our manufacturers as well, because as I said, we do have a tight connection. They do follow the coverage, but it's always great to share, hey, congrats.
That's nice. So that information passes back up the supply chain.
Sure. Sure.
Very nice.
It's not only cool for us, it's like the suppliers we've chosen, they are super passionate about the product as well. Or meanwhile they are. It's like we share the stoke there, and that's part of my job as well.
That's cool. I imagine not every brand does that.
No, surprisingly, you might get in touch with some suppliers. It's a bike for them. Period. And once it got produced, they never chase it down where it might end up. But it's different for us. And it's like, we worked hard to achieve a goal, and in my opinion, we should celebrate together.
Yeah, you've got to have fun with it, right? Otherwise, what's the point?
Part of the philosophy,
Yeah, nice, man. Well, it's been a pleasure spending some time riding the bikes. It was a lot of fun yesterday, despite some slightly inclement weather towards the end of the day. But that's Scotland for you.
It was nice Scottish weather, right?
We got away pretty lightly, I think. But yeah, thanks for giving us the opportunity to swing a leg over them and have a play. It was awesome, and thanks for sitting down, taking the time. If people want to go check out the bike, where should they be looking?
All the time, ytindustries.com on our website. We prepared a lot of content. I got put in the hot seat, like there was a live Q&A on Instagram. There's a product video having me explaining about the product. We do have nice explanation or how-to videos, how to switch the rear wheel, how easy it goes, a lot of video content explaining the product, even if it's easy to understand. But anyhow, I'm not a manual guy. I do appreciate how-to videos.
Nice, me
That's
too.
something we do offer to our customers. And,
and that's all on the YT YouTube?
Yeah, it's on our YT YouTube channel.
Nice.
And I think if you go to the website, you might find links. I'm forwarding you to the YouTube website.
Perfect. I will stick links to all of that in the show notes. But thanks, Frank. Safe
Thank you very much for having me here. It's always like a pleasure talking to you. And
nice.
We can do it for hours.
There we go. We could do.
And thanks for hitting the trail with us.
It's a pleasure. Nice
Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate.
See you soon. Cheers.
All right. Bye.
Cheers.